Wow. This is a big stage, you know? Good afternoon, guys. It's a pleasure to be here with you today to talk about Prilex, this malware that is affecting our payment industry. This is our agenda for today. I'll talk about the company that I work and present myself. Just to be clear, what this presentation is not about. We'll talk about the complexity of the Brazilian payment ecosystem and how this can impact the payments in Brazil. We'll talk about a history of this malware and how I will be working with the community to try to prevent these frauds, and some key takeaways. Who I am? I am Fernando Bucelli. I'm graduated in Network Computers and postgraduated in Information Security by the Brazilian Aeronautical Institute. I'm internal assessor at Cielo, and I am also PCI professional. And for the last 15 years, I've been working in payment security. And for the last 10 years, I work for Cielo, where I am responsible for the PCI DSS and PIN security programs. About Cielo, we are the leader in electronic payments in Latin America. We have more than 1 million merchants, and we cover almost 100% of the Brazilian territory. When you look back to the last 12 months, we've processed more than 8 billion transactions, and 10% of the GDPs of Brazil are processed by Cielo. Beyond the 5 brands under PCI scope, you process 8 brands. This is a lot of information. About these transactions, a very important information here is that 90% of these transactions are card present, that are so relevant for this information that talks about Prilex, this malware of POS. Here we have some groups that Cielo participate in the PCI Council. We are a PPO, a principal participating organization, since the beginning of this new membership. We are part of the BOA since 2011. We are also part of the REB, the Regional Engagement Board in Brazil, since the beginning, 2019. We are part of the GDP. We are part of the TGG, the RRG, and the TAB, the technical group. But more than this, we are working with all payment chain in Brazil, the service providers, the merchants, to help Brazil grow. This is a very important information to you. We've already invested more than 46,000 hours to help merchants and service providers to be more secure. This is a very important program we will have. Since 2008, we will have this program. Just to be clear, what this presentation is not about. We will not talk about the deep technical discussion about Prilex. We will focus on how to identify and help identify the market to identify these fraudulent transactions. This is about how this market has been suffering from malware. Wow. The complexity of the Brazilian payment ecosystem. You must talk about this. When I look to this picture, I see something confusing. And it is the same view of our merchants. They must deal this day by day, and it's not so easy. You have many different actors, different service providers. Why I call these guys actors? Because sometimes they are the service providers, and sometimes they are the fraudsters that are trying to take advantage of this complexity, of the complexity of the Brazilian payment ecosystem. So for the first, you have the automation companies that built this POS. Second, the software houses. They developed the payment application, retired the PADSS, and for now we have the SSF standards. From the previous slide, when I said to you, we have 8 brands being processed by our systems, we have these domestic brands that may impact our payment system because you have different rules for approval transactions. And finally, you have the central bank and ABEX to regulate how this ecosystem should work. The central bank is the same of your countries, and the ABEX is the Brazilian association for that providers that process transactions, payment transactions in Brazil. If your company wants to go to Brazil to make business, they have to follow these rules. Going to the next slide, we'll have the history of the malware in Brazil. Many years ago, between 2009 and 2011, we had the criminals intercepting cardholder data. At that time, it was in clear text. It was pretty easy to intercept that information. What the markets introduced to prevent these attacks? They implemented the encryption. And now we are safe for more 2 years when the criminals started to intercept cardholder data on the memory of the POS. They had the ability to scan the memory to intercept this cardholder data. And to solve this, software houses improve security on these applications. And now we are safe, but for more 2 years only. Yeah, that's it. The criminals start to intercept cardholder data on POS memory server. And again, the software houses had to improve security on the application, the payment application. Fernando, let's make a pause here. Why don't you introduce point-to-point encryption here? You have this opportunity to bring more security, improve security on this payment application. But this is not quite easy because remember that 8 brands that I said on previous slides? That is some reason, because you have different rules. You have been working with 8-digit bins for many years to identify who must be the responsible entity to approve these transactions. Maybe the brand, maybe private brands, or the issuer, or the service provider that are responsible for this. So this is the reason we can't yet introduce point-to-point encryption on this payment chain. So now, in 2016, we have the malware, as you know today, the Prilex, on the ATM's network. We will not talk about this malware on these networks because it's the same malware with different modules. We will go for the next year, 2017, where we have the criminals introducing a black box, a simulator, into merchants' network. Remember, guys, if you don't have security in your network, if you don't protect, criminals will invade. You make an invasion in your network. What to make it to solve this problem? How to solve this? For the merchants, awareness. They must understand how to protect their networks to not happen this. In this case, the criminals, when this black box was inserted in their networks, they access remotely and then start to make these frauds. Awareness and improve security on the application of this simulator. And for more 2 years, we have the Prilex compromising data, theft, cryptograms. And this information will be used for now to Prilex replay attacks, to make these replay attacks for the merchants. How to solve this? Again, we must have awareness. And very important information here, deep dive into merchants' behavior. You must understand how works with this very important information. We have the transactions, and we have the behavior of the merchants, of the fraudsters. And then, for more 2 years, for these days, 2023, we are having the Prilex with a new module, contactless module. When you go to the store and tap your credit card, the malware application will show an error, and it will force you to introduce your card, your credit card, into PIN pads. So now they have the ability to intercept the first transaction that will be used on replay attacks, that we call the transaction of the future. And the second transaction, when you input the credit card into PIN pads, they will perform these transactions and intercept your password if they had the ability to make a fraud on the PIN pads. Again, how to solve this? Know your customer. This is a very important step to understand who is your merchant, who is your customer. They are a real customer or they are the fraudster. And move to the next slide. We will have some concepts to guide us to the next slides. We start our presentation at this moment. How to prevent this? For now, in the past slides, just a history. We have a good information to you for the next slides. Know your customer. You must to know, again, who is our customer. Screening these guys. It's on the manual of the brands. It's according to the brand's rules, you must perform this. Second, ATC and cryptograms on EMV chip. This is a very important information. ATC is the counter of transactions. It's a sequential number generated by the application on the EMV chip. And the cryptogram is a generation of a unique ID you can use to prevent frauds, and you can't reproduce. This information will be used by the issuer bank for approval transactions. And finally, you have KSIs. This is a transaction counter on the PIN pads, on the terminals. You can identify, you can keep this information to see if it's okay, if the transactions that are being processed by your merchant are in a normal mode. Okay. Moving to the next slide, let's talk about know your customer. Who is our customer? This is a very important step because maybe you acquire merchants that are criminals. The guys that are trying to replay these attacks. Okay. We are working with this. We have a team to work with this process to make this real for us. And you have also a fraud prevention service support. They work 7 days a week to identify these registrations, these false registrations. They try to identify the behavior of the fraudsters. One important information here, they are also works with identify fraudulent registrations and data protection, data that are under the data protection law that can be used for these frauds. This is the beginning of the step. This is the beginning of the fraud for the fraudsters. I have here some information about our merchants. This is an example of the merchants of Cielo. 50% of Cielo merchants use standalone terminals, GPRS or dial terminals. They don't have to worry with sophisticated attacks on this payment method. Normally, these are small merchants that doesn't need the benefits provided by the POS method, like scale, conciliation. No. But I have a very important information that some happen in Brazil with terminals. The criminals are introducing a micro camera into the pin pads to record the CVV number. Just to keep in mind, this is happening a lot and probably will happen in other markets. And the other 50% of Cielo merchants use point of sales. These guys are normally large companies, and they have a Cielo merchant to deal with their business. And these guys need the ability of provided by the benefits provided by the POS method payment. They need scale. Normally, they are large companies in many states of the country. They must to consolidate the information. These guys must to understand what's happening with their business. And this is the reason what happened when the criminals trying to ask for a new registration of a POS. Normally, a red letter will appear for us. Who is this guy? The know your customer will have the ability to identify these guys. Typically, the fraudsters migrate between acquirers. They go to the first acquirer for the merchants that work with the first acquirer, and then they intercept cardholder data and goes to the second acquirer to replay these attacks. So, know your customer. It's a very important step. And a red alert will blink for us. This is one of these works we will perform day by day to try to identify these attacks. Fraud and prevention tools. This is a very important step. You can't work without these tools. What happened in this case? Over the 20 years, Cielo developed a fraud and prevention tools according the behavior of the merchants. And we have an accurate tool to prevent this analysis. In this case, you use the ATCs and cryptograms to prevent these frauds. When criminals try to replay these attacks, if they came from our merchants, you have the ability to identify this information. We are not the issuer, but you have to keep this information to perform these frauds, to perform this analysis of these frauds. So, for the last topic, I believe this is very important because we are here talking to you, share this information to you. We have this crosswork between acquirers, issuers, brands for quick action when new cases are identified. I can't see this working properly if you do not share this information. And to finish this presentation, some key takeaways. Know your customer. Remember, this is a very important step. ATC and cryptograms. You have to use this information to identify these frauds. Your fraud and prevention tool must be flexible to understand where you have to go with these fraudsters. And teamwork with community as who will help you. This is what I have today. I have to share with you today. And please, if you have doubts, contact me. Thank you.